teaser trailer just dropped. I don't think we got any actual gameplay, but I had to make a video about it. And I know I have not been on this channel in a long time. I had one video and then I disappeared. But it's very important because this is like arguably the greatest game ever made. Probably my favorite game. I mean, other than like Elder Scrolls, this is my favorite game ever. At least my second favorite game. I go back and forth between this and probably Skyrim. Hate me later. But, you know, I beat this game annually, once a year. I've been playing it since 2005. So, I have to watch this trailer. I've watched it already. I'm not going to lie and say that I haven't seen it, but I have to rewatch it. And I have to break it down because there are some things I saw in the trailer and I saw from other channels breaking it down, like Resident Evil Blitz or Evil Blitz, I believe. Great, wonderful channel, but there's some things that I caught that I feel like no one else caught. Maybe they did and I didn't watch the whole video, or maybe I missed it, but there are definitely some things. So I have to break this down. Alright, so I'm going to rewatch it. I'm going to try to break it down here. So we got the release date, 3/24/23. So it's sooner rather than later. That's great. Can I just say that I love this intro? I love the music. I love the music for the original game, but this, that flamenco guitar, oh my god. As a musician, I love that style of guitar with the nylon string. Whew. So good. Turn this down a little bit. I don't want to get copyrighted. Probably will, regardless. Seems to be how things go. Alright, so the first thing we see is Leon, and he is with what looks like the president. The character model for Leon looks pretty similar to what we saw in 2, though a little bit different. But it looks like we're going to actually see Leon getting his mission to save the president's daughter from President Graham himself. So that's a nice little touch. I like that. I dig it. Little changes like that to add more to the story. I actually heard from what I believe is a reliable source. I believe it was... wasn't Game Bite. Doesn't matter. I heard through the grapevine that this game is going to be longer, which is good. The original's pretty long, so if this is longer, as long as the changes make sense and the lengthening of the game makes sense, that's fine. And I love this. I love Leon getting his mission from the president himself. That's amazing. Cool little shot, little thing to break down. Not a lot else happening there, but the character model looks good. Gives me RE6 vibes. And one of the movies, the animated movies, I can't remember which one it is. They all kind of run together for me. Maybe Vendetta, but mad vibes from the animated films and from Resident Evil 6, which is, you know, not a great game, but this I like. Alright. And then here, this is clearly Ashley. I can see her blonde hair. She's got a new model. That's fine. She looks great. The design around her, the level design looks great. She's looking up at something. What I'm hoping that doesn't happen, I'm hoping we don't see Lycans in this game. And I love Resident Evil 8. It's incredible. My favorite Resident Evil to come out in years. Well, other than the remakes. Favorite mainline Resident Evil game to come out in years. But I hope they don't implement too much of that lore into this, because I really like the original story. And when you go adding new enemy types are fine. I'm hearing there's going to be some stuff from 3.5 in here, like maybe the Hookman. If that happens, that's great. But if you add Lycans in here, I don't know how I feel about that. I guess I'll just have to play it. But this is Ashley, clearly. And there's a shot here in a second that's a little weird. It looks to be Ashley in the same... I'm going to look real hard right here. So you got like the red shirt and the knee-high boots. And there's a shot in a second that confuses me a little bit, but it's probably just a lighting thing. But I'm going to keep going. see a deer, and then Leon trekking through the wilderness. Okay, this shot right here, I believe that's Ashley. Looks like Ashley's probably just the lighting. Her hair looks a lot darker, but I like how you see the crows. A lot of crows in the original game. A lot of birds that you can shoot and get money and all kinds of stuff. So if that's still in the game, that's cool. I don't know how the people over at PETA feel about that, but I don't really care. This is clearly the first house. I mean, the setup is the same with the front porch. And here in a minute, it looks like there's also a trail that leads off to the right, which is how in the original game you enter the main village. So this is clearly the first house. If it's not, I don't know. But what I find interesting here is that it's dark, or it's dusk. It seems like maybe the light, maybe the sun is just starting to come out. Interesting. So it's a different time of day, but that's cool. Yeah, it's the first house. And then we get the first shot of the actual village. And then Lewis. Alright, we got Lewis. His voice actor, I don't know who's playing Lewis this time around, but he sounds great. And what we can see of his model, I mean, you know, the RE engine is incredible. It looks great. And then we, of course, let's see the red non. And there it is. Alright, so we see this Ganado here. I believe that's the first Ganado from... the guy from the first house that Leon is walking into because he's at the fireplace, and that's how that goes down. So, interesting. And the Los Illuminados symbol here, it looks like that's got to be the castle. That's definitely the castle because of the enemy type. So, we got our first shot of the castle here, which I hope I'm wrong, but I heard, and I don't know if it's reliable or not, that Salazar is completely taken out of the game for political correctness, if that might be a thing. I hope not. You gotta do what you gotta do. I get it if you're Capcom. But Salazar's such a good boss fight, and he's... The castle is my favorite part of the game. If they change too much about the castle... I mean, I know they gotta change it, make it fresh. I understand that. But if they change that much, like the boss is different, that's gonna bother me a little bit. But we'll see how it goes. Alright, yeah. We got castle enemies. We got Ada. Alright, and then we have the Big Cheese, as they call him. I don't have to have a stalker type in every Resident Evil game. Actually, in this game, I didn't need it at all. If Menendez turns out to be the stalker enemy in this game, that's going to add a lot of tension to the village. And the village actually could need it a little bit, because I run through that village. And I know if you played Resident Evil for nearly 20 years like I have, then you just run through the village anyways. But regardless, it's going to be different this time around. But if he's the stalker type, man, that's going to add a lot to his character. Because as a boss fight, he kind of gets lost a little bit, I feel like. But we will see. Alright, we see the church. We hear somebody scream. I assume it's Ashley. The church looks great. I mean, it looks faithful, but it's during the day. That's another interesting change. Is that it looks like we're going to start at night, and then as we go, kind of like in Village. In Village, we start and it's dark. Then we trek through, and we wind up on the other side of the house after the first encounter with the enemy. It's daylight, so it looks like they're taking the same approach here, which could be good.
You will receive our most sacred.
Alright, I want to talk about this. So Sadler's talking, and you see blood dripping across some sort of insignia. And this insignia is so clear. I haven't heard anybody say this, and maybe I just haven't been looking too hard. But that insignia is clearly has some sort of connection to Resident Evil 8. That looks like the four-winged key. That's what that looks like. And I know I can see clearly that it's hands, but that is clearly what that looks like with the circle and the hands looking like wings, making wings. So there is a connection here. Obviously, I think most of us who have been following this pretty much knew there was some kind of connection between this and Resident Evil 8. But it looks like they're going to lean into that. I just hope they don't do it too much to the point where enemy types change and all of that stuff. But I haven't seen anybody mention that it looks like the four-winged key, so I just wanted to bring that up.
Body. It begins now.
Alright, kind of a look at Sadler. We get the logo. That's nice. Not too much of a look at Sadler, but I love this that's coming up. All right, we got Leon, and he's entering the village. It's nighttime, or at least the sun is coming up, is what I think, or maybe it's dusk, I don't know. But Leon has the same pose against the side of the window, and he's entering the village. And what he says next, I think, is not just part of the story, but I think it might also be telling fans what to expect. And if you've been following this, you might already expect some big changes. But if you haven't been following the remake, if you just played the original, and then you're coming into this, I think that this might kind of be a fourth wall breaking moment where Leon is telling us what to expect.
I could just forget what happened that night. The pain. Even for a second.
He's clearly talking about Raccoon City. I wish I could forget what happened that night. And then we see a full look at the new character model for Ashley. She looks great. I think she looks good. I mean, it's fine. I understand they had to change some things about the way she dressed. It doesn't matter to me. And she's a character in the game. As long as she's there, I don't really care how she looks, to be honest with you.
This time, it can be different.
This time it can be different. And we see him walking into the village for the first time. So and now it's light. So I think that something is going to happen in that first house or in the first little area before you get to the village. And the sun is going to come out. And then we're going to spend the first little bit in the daytime, even up until we find Ashley in the church. Maybe she's not even in that church. I don't know what they're going to change. All I know is that I am excited, and I hope they don't change so much that it doesn't even resemble the original game. But from what we've seen, I don't think that's going to be the case. This looks really good. I love the rocks around. It does look like Resident Evil Village. And also, I wanted to note that the village looks super claustrophobic when it showed the wide shot of the first area of the village. It looks like it's going to be difficult to navigate. If you've got Dr. Salvador there, like you did in the original, and you've got all those Ganados coming at you, that looks like it's going to be a tough time. So I'm excited to see how they work that. But this looks wonderful.
It has to.
So what I was saying, it's going to be a fourth wall breaking moment. All right, so we have the screen here, March 24th, 2023. Super excited. But he says it's going to be different this time. It has to. So I think that I could be wrong, but it feels like it might be telling players, this is going to be different. It's not going to be the same game. Resident Evil 4 is a perfect game, nearly. Like, in my opinion, it's like probably the greatest game ever made. I mean, I play it every single year. There's not another game that I play like that. So they're telling fans, I feel like, it's going to be different. Expect it to be different. It's not a shot-for-shot recreation of the original, and it shouldn't be. I don't think it should be, because you can't top perfection. And for this game to really stand on its own and to be worthy of a remake, they're putting all this money into this. It's got to be a little different. Why would you just make it the exact same? Then everybody knows what's coming next. I want to be surprised. I want to play this game not only for the updated graphics. You know what I mean? I want to play it, and I want to have scares that we didn't have in the original game. Because at this point, I've been playing this game for, 17 years or something like that. Like, I've been flying through this game. I can speedrun the game in 3.5 hours probably. And it's just no problem at all. So, like, if this game is coming out and it's going to be totally different, it's one thing to completely change the game to where it has no resemblance, but this game clearly is taking a lot from the original, and it's changing the things that maybe need to be changed to acquiesce to a modern day mentality, if you get what I'm saying. So I think it's gonna be good. I hope so. I mean, it could be a dud. You never know. It's difficult to mess with perfection when it comes to Resident Evil 4, but I'm excited. I don't know about you guys. Tell me what you think, and I hope you like the breakdown. Like I said, look at that insignia again. It looks like it's some sort of ode to, or it's a nod to Resident Evil 8. I haven't really seen a lot of people bring that up. If they don't change, too awful much about the story itself, then this game should be a total banger. I think it's going to be good. And we can hope for the best, man. I mean, it comes out in March of 2023, and Capcom's going to see themselves regardless. Like, I'm going to buy it. And, like, even if I hear bad reviews, I'm buying it. Because this is, like, my favorite game to have ever been released. So, yeah, I just want to know what you guys think. If you noticed the insignia thing, if there's anything I might have missed, let me know. Ada, I didn't bring up Ada. One thing I do think, she might have an expanded role. I believe she will. And what I hope they don't do, and people might disagree with me, I hope that they don't weave her story into the main campaign, because Separate Ways, you know, came out on the PS2, and it was not in the original game. But if they have her story still as kind of its own separate entity, that's going to be wonderful. I love that. But I just kind of don't want it to be weaved into the main story, because if we're getting the Ashley parts where she's by herself and she's, you know, in the dungeon trying to make it back to Leon with the knights. I know you remember if you played the original. So if we're getting that, and then we're getting the Leon parts, I feel like it can get really messy. If we're going to add Ada in there, it's going to be strange. And Ada can just have her own scenario, kind of like it was in the Resident Evil 2 remake. But Ada looks great. And, like, she's still wearing the red. Everything looks good. So I'm hoping that she's definitely in the game. I just want them to kind of keep that separate, and that's fine. So if they change a whole lot, then I don't know. How upset can I be? We're getting a remake of this game. This game looks good. I mean, we don't see any gameplay at all. It doesn't look like. But the one thing that they have to bring back is the merchant, and I think with Resident Evil 8, with the Duke, I think we're going to see the merchant back, but they have to keep the inventory system. They have to keep it to where we can upgrade our weapons, and we can go into New Game Plus and have these badass weapons, and I think they're going to do that, but if they don't do that, boy, is that going to be a huge departure from the original, because that's why I beat this game once a year, is I go back, I have all my weapons, and I just run through the game like it's no problem. I don't know why it's fun, but it is. It's fun to me. And, I think this game's looking pretty good. I'm excited. It looks like they're going to switch things up on us, which is, I think is the right road to travel. That's the right road to travel. And as long as we've still got kind of the core elements of the original game, Los Illuminados is in there. We've got Sadler. Salazar's probably gone. I don't know if that's true or not, but if he is, we'll just see what they do to replace him, you know? I definitely want to see the Garrador back. Regardless, I'm not going to sit here and bore you with everything that I want in this game, because I could make 10,000 videos about that. But we'll see on March 24th, and you guys let me know. And yeah, that's about it. I'll see you back, or not. Who knows if I'll ever upload again. But I guess we'll see. Thanks, guys, and enjoy.